Hi, I'm Andrew Shovlin, I'm Trackside Engineering Director, and I'm here to answer your questions from the Belgian Grand Prix. As you saw from qualifying, a lot of the drivers were trying to get a tow from the cars in front. The reason you do that in Spa is that there's very, very long straights, and the car in front will reduce the amount of drag for the car behind, and you pick up speed. And in the case of Spa, it's about 4 to 5 kph, which can give you 3 or 4 tenths of a second. So quite a lot of performance there if you can position your car right. The trick is, though, that no one wants to be that car in front. So as you saw, Hulkenberg left. He thought that people would go past him if they drove slowly, but as it happens, everyone had a very slow outlap. We were all tripping over each other. You do get the benefit of the tow, but the issue is your tyres are cold. And that was a problem for us. We lost a bit of time at the first corner just because the tyres weren't in the right window. Looking ahead to Monza, it's going to be a similar situation. Very high speed track, long straights, and everyone's going to be trying to get a tow off everyone else. So what you'll probably see in qualifying towards the end is people are staying in the garage. They're waiting for the clock to run down. No one wants to go out first, but eventually you've got to go. You've got to get that outlap in, and you'll see people move. Now, what would be good is Ferrari, they're very fast in a straight line. If they would go out first, we can get behind them and get the benefit of that tow. In Belgium, we stopped Lewis the lap after Leclerc. Now, because Lewis was out on his older tyres, he lost a bit of time there. Leclerc was on fresh tyres and could build that gap while we stayed out on track, and it gave Lewis a bit more of a gap to close down. Now, we came very close to getting into an overtaking position, but the race was just a little bit too short for us. So the big question is, if we'd gone 1 lap earlier, 2 laps earlier, would we have been in a better position to overtake? Now, certainly we'd have been closer on track, but our tyres were going off as were Leclerc's. We would have had older tyres, we would have had a bit less performance. And it's a very difficult question to answer, but as always, if what you tried didn't work, you're always thinking that you should have done something a bit differently. The big factor there, though, was if we hadn't had that safety car at the start, if the whole race had been 4 laps longer, that would have probably given us the distance, the time for his tyres to degrade, that we could have perhaps made a move stick. We did have a slow stop with Lewis. It was the rear left wheel, and the issue was actually getting the nut tight again on the wheel. Now, these problems are often not as simple as they seem, but we do have quite a lot of data to look at. We've got video data from above the car during the pit stop. We've also got the data logging of the pit stop system itself. And what we're doing today is just piecing through that to understand exactly what happened, make sure we can put countermeasures in place for Monza. But the loss was about a second or so. Whether or not that would have had an impact on Lewis's race, again, it's really impossible to say. But he did come out a bit further back. He had to work the tyres a little bit harder to catch Leclerc, but you never know whether it would have been a significant factor. We did think that Lewis would be able to close down Charles rapidly at the end of the race. And we know this because we've got data from the first stint where we can calculate the tyre degradation. We're also looking at other cars on the medium tyre, trying to work out how that degrades. And we knew that he would be able to have 1 or 2 laps where he was close. But the thing you can never predict is whether those laps are going to result in a pass or not. So unfortunately, it didn't work, but we knew it would have been quite tight. In the same way that we could predict that Lewis would be able to catch up with Charles at the end of the race, we're also able to predict that Valtteri wasn't going to get into that fight. He was too far back when he started closing him down. So for that reason, about 5 or 6 laps from the end of the race, you'll have heard us instruct him to go to a different engine mode. That engine mode has got less aggressive ignition, and it just saves the engine, making sure that we don't really put it under any unnecessary pressure. It's very difficult to say whether Lewis would have needed 1 lap or 2 laps more to be able to overtake Leclerc, because the Ferrari was very fast in a straight line. And what we'd seen was, unless we could get within about 6 tenths or 5 tenths of them out of the first corner, we weren't able to pull them in enough to make a passing move. The other factor was we were coming up to a lot of backmarker traffic, and sometimes that can help the car in front. They can get DRS at just the right time, or they can actually disrupt their momentum. It can be more difficult. So it's really very difficult to say, but the reality was the race was only 44 laps long. We didn't have enough time to do it, and well done to Charles, who won. the real start for the race strategy on a given race weekend is actually about 8 weeks before in Europe, when we choose the tyres that we're going to take. We then get to the track, and Friday is really a day of learning. You're running the tyres, you're trying to understand how much degradation they have, what the wear lives are like, whether there's any differences in pace between those tyres, to work out your optimal strategy. So this information's all being built up over Friday and Saturday. And even when the race gets underway, we have a plan, but actually the models are being constantly repopulated with the latest data. We need to know where all the cars are on track, and we're trying to optimize the result from there. So if we see more degradation in the race than we expect, we can capture that. We're also looking at the big events that might occur. Is there a safety car? Is there a VSC? Have we got a lot of back markers coming up? And our tools can take account of all these things so that we know what to do on any given lap of the race. Thank you very much for all of your questions. We'll be back next week to answer more of them after the Italian Grand Prix.